Thank you so much. First of all, thank you to all the panelists who are joining us today for this very interesting topic, which is the research and development, the missing link. So we have with us GONZALO, as so we all introduced. GONZALO is sitting on the far right. Then we have MUSHTAQ Sahab, he is Secretary, Ministry of IT, Islamabad, sitting just next to me. Then we have MUMTAZ ANWAR sir, he's sitting in the middle, and myself is FAHEEM. So हमने ज़रूरत क्यों महसूस की कि हम R&D पे क्यों बात करें। 34 सेशंस हैं इस EconFest के, उसमें इसलिए क्योंकि जब आपने देखा होगा आप सुबह के सेशन में when we were talking about policies, when we were talking about policy inconsistencies, and we were talking about these kind of things, we were missing something, and that is research. And it is very common that we miss research in most of our debates, most of our discussions in Pakistan. हमें research लगता है कोई इतनी अहम चीज़ नहीं है, और हम कहते हैं बस ठीक है चल रहा है सिलसिला. So we will have some questions about this, considering कि पाकिस्तान में अगर आप देखें तो there are more than 200 universities now, and if you look at them, so they don't interact with each other. What kind of research they are producing, we don't know, because I don't see where are the research. उसमें से कुछ पेपर्स जो हैं स्टूडेंट्स के टीचर्स के साथ पब्लिश हो जाते हैं, बट वो जर्नल में पब्लिश हो जाते हैं. वो क्या मिनिस्ट्री को बता रहे हैं कि उन्होंने क्या काम किया है, क्या वो उनका कोई पॉलिसी में कंट्रीब्यूशन है, वो रिसर्च कहाँ जा रही है. अगर वो रिसर्च सिर्फ मेरी प्रमोशन के लिए काम आ रही है या मुझे डिग्री लेने में काम आ रही है, तो इट मीन्स के देयर इज समथिंग सीरियसली रॉन्ग. सो देयर इज अ मिसिंग लिंक कि जो रिसर्च प्रोड्यूस हो रही है और वो क्या इन्फॉर्म कर रही है पॉलिसी को नहीं. सो दिस विल बी द ओवरऑल स्कोप ऑफ दिस talk which we are going to have with us. Before we have a talk, let me take the opportunity to launch my book, which is here. This is Policy Research Methods, and this is basically about research methods. आप में से मेरा ख्याल है मोस्टली वो बच्चे हैं जो सोशल साइंसेज से बिलोंग करते हैं. सो दिस रिसर्च बुक इज एग्जैक्टली फॉर दैट. इसकी बेसिकली 3 किस्म की मोटिवेशन है. एंड बाय द वे थैंक यू टू मोहसिन चांदना साहब, ही इंडोर्स्ड माय बुक. सो बेसिकली देयर आर लाइक यू सी 3 types of motivations for me when I was writing this book. First of all, it was university students. And why? I was teaching for like 3 years at PIDE. And what I realized is that every now and then a student would pass, stop by my room and ask, sir, research topic sir बता दें. आप कौन से सेमेस्टर में? He would say, sir, मैं सर फाइनल सेमेस्टर. मुझे आपको अभी तक टॉपिक का नहीं पता. लेकिन कोई आपका इंटरेस्ट एरिया होगा, सर आप बता दो. मैं आपको कैसे बता दूँ? रिसर्च आपने कर ली, रिसर्च इंटरेस्ट आपका है, मैं आपको कैसे बता दूं कि आपने रिसर्च करें. सो द बेसिक पॉइंट विच आई एम ट्राइंग टू मेक इज कि ये बहुत बड़ा इशू है हमारी यूनिवर्सिटी में, जो मैंने रियलाइज़ किया स्टूडेंट्स के साथ इंटरेक्शन में, कि हम उनको किताबें पढ़ा रहे हैं, हम उनको मेथड्स पढ़ा रहे हैं, हम उनकी मेमोरी टेस्टिंग कर रहे हैं, बट हम उनको तैयार नहीं कर रहे मार्केट के लिए कि उन्होंने उस आइडिया पे काम कैसे करना है, उस रिसर्च आइडिया को कैसे जनरेट करना है, सोचना कैसे. एंड believe me, even today when I'm not teaching for quite long now, even today जब मेरे पास कोई बच्चा आता है तो मुझे लग जाते हैं 15-20 मिनट. बट व्हाट आई डू इज कि आज तक यार अच्छा ये बताओ कि तुम्हें सबसे अच्छा सब्जेक्ट कौन सा लगता था? वो कहता है सर पब्लिक पॉलिसी लगता था. अच्छा पब्लिक पॉलिसी में सबसे अच्छा एंगल क्या लगता था तुम्हें, जो एक्साइटमेंट देता हो तुम्हें काम करते? सर गवर्नेंस होता था. अगेन गवर्नेंस इज वेरी नाइस. अच्छा गवर्नेंस में क्या एस्पेक्ट है जिसको आप सोचते हो कि मैं इंटरेस्ट के साथ पढ़ना चाहता हूँ? सो द पॉइंट इज कि आपका इंटरेस्ट क्या है. आप जब अपना इंटरेस्ट आइडेंटिफाई करोगे, वहाँ से आप उसको रीड करना शुरू करोगे, आइडेंटिफाई करोगे. सो द बेसिक थिंग इज कि इस रिसर्च के अंदर प्रेजेंटेशन तैयार हो जाए तो मुझे बता देना. अच्छा ओके, वो फिर लगा दें यहाँ पर. वो चेंजर है तो मुझे दे दें, स्लाइड चेंजर अगर है. द पॉइंट इज कि वो आइडिया जो है वो ड्राइव करेगा आपकी वो रिसर्च क्या है. सो फर्स्ट ऑफ ऑल दिस बुक इज अबाउट ऑल द स्टूडेंट्स कि उनको हेल्प मिले रिसर्च स्टार्ट करने की, उन तमाम स्टेप्स पे से गुजरने की और उसको कंप्लीट करने की. ठीक है, सिर्फ रिसर्च टॉपिक नहीं होता, रिसर्च टॉपिक के बाद प्रोसेसेस इन्वॉल्व हैं, रिसर्च टॉपिक के बाद मेथड्स इन्वॉल्व हैं, देन देयर आर डूज एंड डोंट्स एक्चुअली। रिसर्च में कोई हार्ड एंड फास्ट रूल्स नहीं है, बट डूज एंड डोंट्स जरूर, तो इट्स एवरीथिंग इज इन देयर। So this is not like a textbook kind of a thing. What I want is that you use it like a guide. It's a guide. It will take you through, from the very initial step to the end. कि आपने इस step पे क्या करना है, क्या करना है, क्या करना है. If you need more, information about it, more guidelines, you can consult other textbooks about it. Then the second motivation is कि practitioners की. When I meet people in the government, especially the civil servants, I have been teaching with National School of Public Policy, NIM, National Institute of Management, Islamabad. MOHSIN sahab was Director General NIM Karachi at that time. So when I was interacting with them, with the practitioners, I realized that when I'm presenting something to them, they were blank. They were saying, okay, it's very fancy graphs, good, so they're accepting that. तो उनके पास वो कैपेबिलिटी नहीं है, क्योंकि हमने उसको ट्रेन नहीं किया कि वो जो ग्राफ प्रेजेंट कर रहे हैं तो वो उसको कैसे इवेलुएट करें। सेकंड, थर्ड इज वीक रिसर्च बेस इन पाकिस्तान। आप देख रहे होंगे यहाँ पर रास्ता के लोगो लगे हुए हैं। रास्ता इज रिसर्च फॉर सोशल ट्रांसफॉर्मेशन एंड एडवांसमेंट। इट्स अ रिसर्च नेटवर्क जो कि हम क्रिएट कर रहे हैं थ्रू ग्रांट्स। हम ग्रांट्स देते हैं, रिसर्च कंडक्ट करवाते हैं। इट्स अ हाईली कम्पिटिटिव जो है वो ग्रांट प्रोग्राम है जो कि हम उसमें क्रिएट कर रहे हैं। हमने अब इसको हम तकरीबन 3 साल हो गए। व्हाट वी हैव रियलाइज्ड इज कि तकरीबन 2000 से ज़्यादा एप्लीकेशंस हमारे पास आई, बट जो हमारी रिसर्च एडवाइजरी कमेटी है उसने हार्डली क्या, मैं एग्जैक्ट नंबर बताता हूँ, 49 अवार्ड्स इशू किए। 2000 एप्लीकेशंस, 49 अवार्ड्स, ठीक है। सो द पॉइंट इज कि व्हेन वी लुक एट अवर रिसर्च, there are serious issues. So there is problem with the research culture, and then there is a problem with the research network. We lack that, and realizing this, I thought, okay, this is very important guide for all these practitioners and students, as well as for both of them to build their skills about that. So this was the quick intro about the book. I will now come to my panel. I have divided my discussion into I think 4 rounds. Yes. So in the first round we will talk about, slide next please. Next video. Next. ये मेरी किताब की illustrations हैं, बड़ी अच्छी, आपको मजा आएगा। And आपने मेरी ट्वीट पढ़ी है? I will give 3 free books today in this hall जो सबसे अच्छे सवाल पूछेगा। So these are the illustrations, and then next please. Okay, next. Yeah, it's a gift basically. It's free. You can download this book. Hard copy में free दूंगा, but जो free है वो website पे available है. I'm not charging any money. Nothing else. It's available for all of you. Use it. Just cite it whatever you are using that. Next, please. So these are the 4 rounds which we'll be having, with quick rounds with our panelists. They'll be asking questions. I've already shared the question so that we can have a quick round of question answer session. So let me start with the first question with Gonzalo. Gonzalo, in your opinion, what is actually research and development, and why is it important?
Thank you, Fahim, for the question, and thank you for the invitation. It's a pleasure to be here. I've been 4 years in Pakistan. I still don't speak Urdu, so apologies for that. I can say some random words, but not much, so I will be speaking English today. So what is research and development? So research and development basically is the creation of knowledge, and knowledge that can help us produce better things, so make new products. But it's also knowledge that can help us do things better. So it's not just about developing products, it's also about improving processes, improving the way we do things. And this is why research and development is very important for innovation. So in a way, you need research and development to be able to innovate. And innovation is crucial for productivity, and innovation is crucial for growth. So economies that grow are economies that grow fast, are economies that innovate a lot, are economies that do a lot of research and development. Now, given that I see that the audiences You know, there are many economic students there. Just talk to Hasnain that is finalizing his undergraduate studies in economics, but there are many others that are doing social sciences. And sometimes we think about research and development as, for example, what is needed to develop something like this smartphone. And that's true. There's a lot of research and development that goes into this. But there's also research that is needed for developing good public policy. So if you think about good public policy, if you think about, for example, the government, the Ministry of Industries and Production is thinking about industrial policy. Well, we need a lot of research, and we can call it R&D, also to get into a good design of a public policy like industrial policy. Build it on evidence, see what is it that can be done better, what other countries have done, and how we can adapt it to Pakistan, and move the frontier there, move the frontier in terms of public policy. So the frontier of knowledge is not just on, you know, sophisticated technological products, it's also on something that we call intangibles, right? Things that we cannot really touch, but like public policy, that also deserves a lot of effort in terms of research and development. So it's important because it is a crucial element for growth. Countries that grow are countries that innovate need R&D. Now the key question, and I'll be brief, but the key question I think is how do we get more R&D in an economy? So how can we get Pakistan to do more R&D? And I think a crucial element to do more and better research and development is exposure to what the world knows how to do best. And that, for a country like Pakistan that is sort of far away from the frontier, right? It's a developing country, it's far away from the frontier. Developing through imitation and using research and development to see how we can best learn from what others have done and implement it to the current reality is crucial. And here I would say a key element to do more and better R&D and for that to translate into more innovation is to have more trade and to have more foreign direct investment. When you hear a lot about import substitution in this country, people talk a lot about import substitution, in part because foreign exchange is scarce. But import substitution is sort of a barrier to learn from what others have done, right? Because import substitution means let's put a barrier on importing goods, machinery, equipment, all of which have embedded a lot of research and development, have embedded a lot of knowledge that we could be actually adapting for the local economy. I will finalize with one more thing. For indigenous research and development, FAHEEM said, when he was showing his fantastic book, he said, if you use it, cite it. And underlying that, what he's saying is, I wrote this book, I did a lot of work for this, he did research and development, that's what that is about, and he wants his intellectual property to be protected. And for his intellectual property to be protected, what you need is you need to cite. If you're building on what he did, and when he did that, he built on what others did, and he cited others. And that's the way research and development works, because research and development, for example, whoever tells you that Apple developed this iPhone, yeah, they did, but actually Apple built on a lot of knowledge that was produced beforehand. In particular, for example, this relies on the internet, and the internet is something for which the United States government invested in. You know, it was a defense sponsored activity. So we sort of, when we do research and development, we stand on the shoulders of giants. And when we stand on the shoulders of giants, we need to acknowledge those giants so that then others are going to acknowledge us. And then you can build a network of knowledge. I'll stop here. But
yeah, thank you, Gonzalo. Let me now come to MOHSIN Chandna sir. Let me also tell you, MOHSIN Chandna sir is a passionate professor. IBA में इन्होंने पिछले मेरा 6-8 सालों में कोई मेरा 20 कोर्सेज तो पढ़ा दिए होंगे एंड बहुत ज़बरदस्त टीचर है, हमने इनसे खुद भी बहुत सीखा है और इतने पैशन के साथ पढ़ाते हैं कि बंदे का दिल करता है कुर्सी छोड़ के डेस्क पे बैठ के सुने, तो वो इतना पैशन है इनमें. तो सर आई वुड लाइक टू आस्क यू कि what is the scope of R&D in Pakistan? Like, do we invest enough in R&D और क्या हमारे पास reliable, good research available है पाकिस्तान में?
Thanks, FAHEEM, for a very generous introduction. I I've done Master in Public Policy from University of Chicago and MBA from IBA Karachi. I will be retiring next week as secretary after 34 years of service. My experience about research is very interesting. In Pakistan, there is a lot of scope for research, but there is a problem. And the problem is that we don't find either the quality research or relevant research. Give you an example. मेरे सामने एक अभी ये मैंने खोल के रखी थी because I just wanted to quote the numbers. And it's interesting. It says 1/3 of World Bank reports or World Bank की एक report पे they spend about $180,000. 33% of the World Bank reports are never downloaded. Nobody downloaded. And 79% or 80% something are never cited. So do you see the problem? Which means the report was downloaded, but it was not relevant, so nobody ever quoted it in its policy work, research, for further research, etc. So what is happening? So I see a clear disconnect between what is the research and what is usability. इसकी जो application है for a public policy practitioner. I'll give you an example. I will be rejoining hopefully next week or week after that as DG Debt Management Office in Ministry of Finance. And there I was looking for a research which could link Pakistan's interest expense, short-term versus long-term versus our fiscal deficit. And can you imagine how many researches I got? Zero. So that means the research, what I see is available, is not relevant. And what I want is, now what I'll have to do. So the second question, which FAHEEM will ask later, I'll answer that question here. So why do we rely on donors research? Because जो हमारी indigenous research है वो काम नहीं कर रही है. 1, 2 हमारी जो indigenous research है वो biased है probably. And it is not reliable. I'll give you an example. I am on RASTA panel of PIDE. And proposals हमें भेज देते हैं, double blind study होती है, किसी के नाम नहीं लिखे होते. So there was one very interesting research topic I remember, and I in fact called FAHEEM after that. It was a very interesting topic. I liked it. तो मुझे ये लगा कि जैसे ये जो research है, क्या ऐसी रिसर्च पाकिस्तान में और हुई है. एंड आई वेंट टू scholar.google.com. जिसको भी आप लोगों से रिसर्च करनी हो आप ज़रूर जाओ scholar.google पे, वहाँ से आप कीवर्ड्स टाइप करें. तो मैंने उसके जो कीवर्ड्स टाइप किए तो मुझे पता लगा कि वो 2021 में सिमिलर रिसर्च ऑलमोस्ट मुझे देख के 99% आई वाज श्योर कि दिस इज द सेम ऑथर. सो आई वाज अ लिटिल क्यूरियस. सो मैंने जो रेफरेंसेस थे जो रिसर्च प्रपोजल में गिवन थे उसमें देखे तो उसमें ये जो 3-4 एक चेन थी रिसर्च की उसके नाम नहीं लिखे, मैंने कोई रेफरेंस नहीं था. दैट मीन्स मेरी अपनी रिसर्च है, मैंने उसको कोट नहीं किया बिकॉज मैं अब उसको मैंने कभी किसी और की फंडिंग से की होगी. अब दिस इज द सेकेंड टाइम दे वांटेड टू यूज द फंडिंग ऑफ PIDE. सो आई कॉल्ड FAHEEM एंड आई सेड यार दिस इज माय ऑब्जर्वेशन, प्लीज लुक इनटू इट. I have given you enough examples. There is a lot of scope for R&D. मैं अगर डेट के ऊपर DG डेट हूँ और मुझे आप आते हो और आप मुझे कहते हो कि जी मैं आपको एक रिसर्च करके देता हूँ जिसमें के शॉर्ट टर्म वर्सेस लॉन्ग टर्म बोरोइंग का आपके फिस्कल डेफिसिट के साथ रिलेशनशिप क्या है एंड हाउ विल इट ट्रांसलेट्स, इट विल बी अ वेरी गुड पॉलिसी इनपुट फॉर यू. बट दीज टाइप ऑफ रिसर्चेज आर नॉट अवेलेबल. Okay, I think this is enough. I'll talk about it later.
Sir, thank you so much. Very interesting. I'll come to MUMTAZ Anwar Sahab because he has a long career as a teacher as well as researcher. He was the director at Punjab Economic Research Institute. I think the only public sector think tank in Punjab.
I think if we are going to more theoretical and one kind of understanding about what the academia and the think tank should produce, they should give the policy research analysis, they should guide, they should collaborate and so and so. But the reality is what we are basically facing here, and what you were saying about the universities and their role. There is a massive increase in the, you can say, research publications. If I'm going to quote, suppose that in 2001 there was only 800 research publications which the Pakistani universities and Pakistani scholars, those belongs to the universities, published. But after 15 years, we have some kind of 12,000, and the recent data, suppose, is going to show it more than that. So there's a lot of research publication which is by the university and as well as the researchers, those belong to the think tank. If we see toward the research journals, there were a lot of research journals, those basically being published from Pakistan from last 20 years. The Higher Education Commission also promotes this as well, some kind of a policy that you have to produce more research and so and so. But the reality is that the quality of that research, if we see it, in last 15 years, suppose, in the best international journals, like Nature, like Science, suppose, there are only 20 articles being published by the Pakistani researcher. So the quality, in one way or the other, if you ask me, I am as editor of one of the Pakistani leading research economic journal. It's used to be the PIDE and the Department of Economics research journal, which is basically been recognized from a long time. But in recent years, the issue is that we are receiving low quality papers as compared to the previous one. And publishing in our journal is also an issue. So why is there, this gap is?
Is it deteriorating over the period of time?
Yes, of course. The reason is, since if you are saying it, either people are producing outside the country, and if they are producing outside, even there, suppose, the quality of that research is not that much. So
perhaps it's a new mafia now. You can pay and you can publish.
Yeah, exactly. This is another story of research publications. So what I would like to, but there is one the question which you asked, the role of academia and as well as think tank. There is a disconnect here as well. The think tank must give the guidelines for the future in a way that in next 15 years, 20 years, 50 years, where this country should go. And the academia is basically to do research on those at a micro level. Unfortunately, this is not happening. Our think tanks are not basically that much effective. In a way that, as you said, is only 2 dozens. And those 2 dozens are also like those retired people, those having some kind of flavor to, you can sit together and to do some discussion, and that's it. And at the same, in Lahore, if we see how many think tanks are there, you will hardly find an economics, suppose. So I used to basically lead a think tank like PARI, but we developed, and now it's again going down in the public sector. So altogether, what I would like to, and on the other side, where the policy informing is, there is also disconnect in a way that now, I don't want to, but at the same time, look at, suppose, what NSPP is doing. They have their own thing, they have their own, suppose, EDI, Executive Development Institute, and they are just giving that kind of, suppose, special treatment to them. VAR colleges, the policy institutes into different, suppose, other institutions like NDU and so and so. So they are just basically curtailing in a way. They are not going to society, they are not going to the academia, they are not going to the universities, and that's why the research is deteriorating, and they are not realizing the reality of the, you can say, the social issues.
Okay, so we are getting short of time. We also have to go to the audience. Gonzalo, I'm sure Gonzalo is half Pakistani by now. So he knows quite a lot of realities about Pakistani culture and how we operate here. So Gonzalo, one aspect which Dr. MUMTAZ is mentioning, and MOHSIN have also mentioned, that one aspect is that we have a system where we have to produce certain numbers of papers to get promotion, and students have to produce a certain thesis requiring certain number of pages and certain number of months, requiring, and then they get the degree, we get the promotion, and we are done with that. One aspect is that. The other aspect is the knowledge resource part, the knowledge network part. How World Bank operates with these knowledge resource and the management of this knowledge? Can you quickly tell us, how do you use that?
Yeah, right. So knowledge networks are very important, right? And so the World Bank, what we have teams that do knowledge management, and that knowledge management team involves putting together information, reports, papers on specific topics, so they are readily available. One of the things that when we interact with governments, and I keep hearing, why do governments go to donors and not go to domestic, to local institutions? So I'm not going to get into that. But one of the things that governments, when they come to us, they are expecting us to provide is global experience, right? So for example, if it's industrial policy, as I was mentioning before, so you have mainstream industries and production working on industrial policy, they would want to know what is it that other countries, how is it that other countries went around doing industrial policy? Can you bring knowledge on this area? Then, because we have a global presence and we have worked with countries across our member countries, and these are across the world, we can bring this information quite quickly. Now, the interesting thing is that local institutions will have much deeper knowledge about what has happened in the country that is also relevant, right? So if you're designing policy, you want to learn from the failures and successes of other countries, but you also want to learn from your own failures and successes. And the wealth of knowledge that the country has should be somewhere, should be managed somewhere, so that there's a repository also. If you have well-functioning research institutions, through collaboration, through citation, my first reaction, say, if I'm going to do work on productivity is, look at what Omar Siddiqui did on productivity and check his paper for the citations. And so I can see backwards who are the others that have done work on that and learn from that. Now, the issue is, if this citation system or this collaboration system breaks, then we sort of forget of all the knowledge that was created. And I think that's a huge cost because of what my colleague here in the panel said before. Research is expensive, right? He was mentioning the numbers on the World Bank reports, but in general, research is expensive. So if we don't cite, if we don't build networks, we forget, and if we forget, that's a huge cost for the economy.
Okay, quick answers, 30 seconds to all the panelists, one by one. First of all, MOHSIN Chandna Saab. How to make local research more effective? What is the role of bureaucracy in that?
Link it with the policy questions. That's it. I was Secretary IT. We wanted to see the relationship between the incentives we wanted to give to the local industry and startups especially, which is reflected by the increase in exports. The research relevance zero. So, design a policy question, give it to RASTA or give it to Institute of Social and Policy Sciences, give it to some other think tank, and have a quality research. That is the only way to have a meaningful research. Otherwise, as I said, research is useless.
बेसिकली मकसद ये है कि थीसिस करके दराज में नहीं रखना, अलमारी में नहीं लगाना, रेलेवेंट स्टेक होल्डर्स तक पहुंचाएं उसको, ठीक है? ये इट इज़ वेरी इंपॉर्टेंट. जो मिसिंग लिंक की हम बात कर रहे हैं, दैट इज़ अबाउट द आउटरीच, दैट इज़ अबाउट द डिसेमिनेशन ऑफ रिसर्च, दैट यू आर रीचिंग आउट टू दोज रेलेवेंट स्टेक होल्डर्स जो कि उस रिसर्च को यूज़ करें और अपनी पॉलिसी को मेंट करें. कमिंग टू नाउ मुमताज़ साहब, what is the role of academia like to make local research more effective?
I think number one is basically must focus on the local issues. Okay, the reason is that our students, what they are doing, and mostly the research we are publishing is not focusing on the local issues, expanding the local issues. In a way, look at suppose the universities of the Punjab. While at PIDE we invited from all the public sector of the universities to provide us that on which topic their MPhil and PhD students are doing the research. And means is unfortunate that out of those all public sector universities, at the end of the day we find out that there are only 3 topics those are relevant to Punjab. The Punjab, which is the one of the, you can say, the most populated the province, half of the Pakistan and more than most of the countries, okay, nobody is doing research on it. So focusing on that, that is the important basically.
Local and real issues. अभी डॉक्टर नदीम भी आपके दरमियान बैठे हैं, he will tell you that स्टूडेंट्स को ये बड़ा शौक होता है रिग्रेशन लगा दें, डेटा पकड़े रिग्रेशन लगा दें, डेटा के जो रिजल्ट्स आए हैं उनको इंटरप्रेट करें, थीसिस पूरा हो गया. बिलीव मी, यू आर डूइंग अ लॉस. आप अपना नुकसान कर रहे हो, बिकॉज कंडक्टिंग गेटिंग थ्रू अ प्रोसेस, एक रिसर्च के प्रोसेस में से गुजरने से एक एक्चुअल रियल इशू को लेके, लोकल इशू को लेके जो आपकी लर्निंग अभी होगी वो फिर आपको बाद में अपॉर्चुनिटी नहीं मिलेगी. ओके, लास्ट क्वेश्चन टू गोंजालो, हाउ टू मेक लोकल रिसर्च मोर इफेक्टिव? व्हाट इज द रोल ऑफ इंटरनेशनल डेवलपमेंट पार्टनर्स?
So I think there are three things. So one is align incentives. Align incentives of researchers with those of the government. Just to be sure, I don't think research should be all policy-oriented, right? There's a case for research not to be policy-oriented, but some research needs to be policy-oriented, and you need to align the incentives of researchers with those of the government officials, because if those are not aligned, then that's why governments don't go to local researchers. If I go to a government office, the government official asks me, okay, where is the data on, I don't know, you mentioned data, debt, and I say, I don't know, my manager will fire me, right? I have to say, I'll find it for you. And that's an incentive that is aligned, right? But a researcher that has other incentives doesn't have to say, I'll look it up for you, right? Because the incentives are not aligned. So aligning incentives is very important. The other issue is we can play a role also in facilitating access to data, which actually local institutions should do, but perhaps sometimes they can't. But access to good quality data is crucial for research, and in Pakistan, we're not yet there. So I mentioned these two things in the interest of time, but can expand.
I agree with that. Yes, we have serious quality issue data with the quality of data issues in Pakistan. Okay ji, questions. Introduce yourself or direct करें जिनसे सवाल कर रहे हैं, ठीक है?
Assalamu alaikum to all the panelists. This was a wonderful discussion. My name is Wajahat Usman and I am a student of economics. So first of all, I would ask the question in the last, but before that I will give you the two scenarios regarding the research and development. So I am a student of economics and I am a very lucky student, alhamdulillah, that I have chosen economics as my first choice subject. So I have seen in my institution ranging from bachelor's to MPhil to postgraduate to postdoctoral fellows to my faculty, there is any individual who have chose economics is the first subject. This is the scenario number one. Scenario number two, when these people go to the field, to the job market, to the labor market, so their first thing is to get the employment, to get the naukri, to get the, we have again PIDE and Jogata Sarkari Naukri syndrome. So their first is to have that naukri, to have the employment, and they don't care about their research. So who are those people, who are those individuals who will conduct not a research, but a quality research? Or do you?
The demand side is that our government, suppose, our politician, our policy maker, they never, even suppose, they don't try to contact even the universities. Look at suppose, just ask any head of the Department of Economics in the public sector universities of Punjab, and you will find hardly somebody say that any government official is going to contact them on any real issues. They are hiring some consultants and that's it. Okay, and those consultants are producing some kind of a glossy reports, and those are ready made in one way or the other on their laptop, which I have the experience as well. So I think the demand side is a very problematic. Okay, and that is why. And other is the funding of the research. While we are saying 200 universities, at present there are 235 universities in Pakistan, suppose. But the issue is that how much funding they have for the research. Look at suppose the small universities have the University of Jung have only 600 million total budget of all running the universities. Including the establishment, including teaching, including everything. there is no single penny available for the research. So look at suppose the Punjab University, which is the biggest university of Pakistan in a way, but how much research budget have? So altogether, the reason is that there is no support. So that's why there is no demand, and at the same time there is no support. So that is why we can't accuse the academia as well that they are not producing the quality research.
Okay, next question.
My name is Ehsan Khan. I am from Government College University, Lahore. I am a student of 6th semester. Now, what is the way forward to implement those research or to reach the research, those who are sitting in the powers of corridors, to implement those local issues, to work regarding that local issues?
The number one that our students and our suppose researchers are not doing research on that. They are not doing research on microdata as well. The secondly, disseminating means only suppose one way or the other producing thesis, shelving them, and that's it. The reason is that how to present, disseminate. That is the best way now is social media. Means you can't suppose present it to the politician, but you can basically disseminate through the social media now what research you have done, how you can basically give your recommendation, and if you are putting your pictures, means every day where you have gone and you eating somewhere in a restaurant and going this and that, why these students and researchers are not basically promoting their research through social media? So media has to play the role, either is electronic and social as well. And for you as a student, is a much suppose easier that if you can use that, you can say the forum.
Absolutely right. Make yourself heard. आपके पास अब तो बहुत ऑप्शन है यार. टिकटॉक बना लो, वीलॉग बना लो, एक प्रेजेंटेशन बना के जो गुड रीड्स है उस पर डाल दो. मतलब तेरा मल्टीपल एवेन्यू सोशल मीडिया पे ऐसे फॉरम्स पे आए हो, अभी आपकी मुलाकात हुई है, रिक्वेस्ट करो, ईमेल बंदे को ईमेल भेज दो अपनी, यार आपने ये काम किया, ठीक है, आप समझते हो अच्छा काम है. सो मेक योरसेल्फ हर्ड, मेक योरसेल्फ विजिबल. अगर आप साइलोज में बैठे रहोगे और एक्सपेक्ट करोगे कि मैं आपको ढूंढता हुआ मैं आप तक पहुंचूंगा, मैं नहीं पहुंच सकूंगा यार. लेट्स बी realistic. Okay,
जी, अस्सलाम वालेकुम जी. अस्सलाम वालेकुम. आयशा इकबाल on the behalf of TEPTA, Technical Education Educational Training. सारी आप लोगों ने जो डिस्कशन की है उसमें कोई इम्प्लीमेंटेशन का वे फॉरवर्ड ज़रूर बताएं. पॉलिसीज़ कैसे बनेंगी जिसमें इंटरलिंक्ड होंगे तमाम डिपार्टमेंट्स आपस में. लाइक आपने कहा हमारी 200 यूनिवर्सिटीज़ हैं, तो इन यूनिवर्सिटीज़ का आपस में ही इंटरलिंक नहीं है, तो इनको कैसे इम्प्लीमेंट करेंगे? हम बातें बहुत कर लेते हैं, कई जगह पे हम बातें करते हैं, यहाँ से भी हम बातें करके जाएंगे, 2-3 दिन हम पे असर भी रहेगा नो डाउट, लेकिन इसको इम्प्लीमेंट कैसे करेंगे ऑफिशियली इन गवर्नमेंट सेक्टर? इसको कैसे इम्प्लीमेंट करें? कुछ ऐसा.
Point taken. It's a long journey. It's not an easy journey. If you look at RASTA, which I was introducing, it's just a start, and we have started establishing a network. So if you look at RASTA, we have more than 2,000 academicians and researchers and practitioners in that, and we have now 60 plus universities, local and foreign institutes on that. So if you go to our RASTA website, you will feel good that we are organizing multiple trainings. We are actually coming to universities. We did our last PhD conference in Quetta, and before that we went to Peshawar. This year we are planning to go to Karachi, and that's how the network works. जब तक आप आपस में बात नहीं करेंगे, engage नहीं करेंगे, मिलेंगे नहीं, what is happening here? Look at this EconFest. That's the success. That is the network. These are the universities. इसमें कोई donor नहीं है. There is no World Bank. There is no ADB. There is no DFID or anyone else. It's all funded by local organizations. It's all in-kind support है या छोटी financial support है. किसी ने खाना fund कर दिया है, किसी ने चाय fund कर दी है, किसी ने यूं कर दिया. It's all local. This is network, and you are part of it. Next question.
My name is Ahmed Bilal. I am a high school teacher. I teach economics. My question is about the private sector and they funding the researchers. I went to college in UK. In my university, most of the research would be funded by the private sector. But when they fund a research, for example, there was a lab which was donated by Deutsche Bank, and they will tell us to research about financial markets, financial economics. In Pakistan, why can't we have the private sector investing in the research? Because I see if they invest in the research, then the problem that Chandana Saab was saying about the policy, about the question of research and the relevance of it, I think all of those things get sorted. Also, we won't then have to disseminate the research. We will be doing a very focused research. So why not? Was the problem?
No, I said research should be pointed, it should be on demand, and it should be solicited. So what RASTA is doing, it's very interesting. What they do is in the second round, they were taking up the econ topic. So they gave it to different policy practitioners, including myself, and I looked at it from a policy perspective, and I picked 3 or 4 topics, and I said these are very good topics, and if research is conducted on this, I think it will help some of my questions. I'll just repeat again. If you can do a research for me in which the linkage between the startups and the exports is elaborated, it is relevant for me. If you can do something on debt for me, it is relevant for me. When I was doing some research for education, to give you just one example very quickly, I was looking at the number of private schools in Sindh. So from where could I get the data? And my colleague said, very simple, go to Department of Private Education in Government of Sindh. Mansoor Siddiqui was the head. I called him, is kitne private schools available in Government of Sindh mein functioning? He said, sir, very honestly, I don't have the data because we only do the registration. So I can tell you how many we have registered during last 10 years or 15 years, but how many are functioning, I have no idea. Because हमारे पास तो 5 छोटे-छोटे से directorates हैं, जिसमें 6 या 8 का staff है, एक गाड़ी है, तो do you think we will have any data on the schools which are functioning or not? So मैं आप लोगों को चैलेंज करता हूँ, आप मुझे मेरी जगह अगर रिसर्च कर रहे हैं, आप मुझे बताएं आप डेटा कहाँ से लाएंगे? ठीक है, and now I'll give you the answer. I'll give you the answer also from where I did get the data. I did get the data, and I said which government department has an incentive to collect data for their own ulterior motives, and I got the data from EOBI and Sindh Social Security Corporations, what we call it, SESI, Sindh Employee Social Security Institution. They have the data for their own purpose. Okay?
Last 2 questions. Yes.
My question is to Mr. Chandana. You have 34 years of experience, and how many times have you used the local researchers instead of going to the World Bank or ADB and trusting them? And do you do, or would the government be doing it in future?
देखिए मैं आपको बड़ा सिंपल जवाब देता हूँ, बहुत अच्छी सी रिसर्चेस भी हैं। मुझे जब मेरा चूँकि काम फाइनेंस का था, आई वॉज इकोनॉमिक मिनिस्टर इन वाशिंगटन DC फॉर over 5 years, मुझे अशफाक हसन खान साहब की जो डेट के ऊपर रिसर्चेस हैं वो बहुत अच्छी, बहुत क्वालिटी रिसर्च मिली, वेरी गुड पेपर. आई थिंक द बेस्ट रिसर्च अवेलेबल ऑन दैट टॉपिक ऑन वेब इज़ फ्रॉम अशफाक हसन खान. जो डोनर रिसर्चेज हैं उसको तो आई टेक एज विद अ पिंच ऑफ सॉल्ट फॉर द सिंपल रीजन बिकॉज दे हैव अ, आई एम सॉरी टू से, बट दे हैव अ मोटिव बिहाइंड इट, बिकॉज दे आर promoting something and they bring research in support of that whatever they are selling. Am I right?
I don't agree, but I don't need to agree, don't worry.
Sponsored from the local, because I do not.
No, as I said, I am working for last 2.5 years with RASTA group only for this reason, that they are doing indigenous research and I want to pick those topics which are relevant from policy perspective. I am giving you the example. और बड़ा एक और बात बता दूँ, आप बहुत मुश्किल काम है कि आपके पास कितने पहले राउंड में आपने 3 भेजे थे, दूसरे राउंड में 4, 7 रिसर्च प्रपोजल्स आए, आप उनको बैठ के पूरा पढ़ें गौर से और उसके बाद बताएं कि ये फंडिंग पर्सपेक्टिव से ये अच्छे हैं या नहीं है, इनका पॉलिसी रेलेवेंस है या नहीं है, प्लेजरिज्म है या नहीं है, बहुत मुश्किल काम है. बट आई डू इट ओनली बिकॉज आई वांट टू प्रमोट दिस थिंग. I hope I have answered your question.
If you allow me to add on to this, सर मैं पाकिस्तान में कोई 20 से ज़्यादा इंस्टीट्यूट्स हैं जहाँ पे मैं ट्रेनिंग पे जाता हूँ, मतलब मैं ट्रेनिंग देता हूँ. उसमें बहुत ज़्यादा जो मेरे लेक्चर्स हैं वो रिसर्च मेथड पे हैं. अच्छा, वहाँ पे मैं अक्सर उनसे पूछता हूँ, मेरे आइस ब्रेकिंग के तौर पे मैं उनसे पूछता हूँ, सिविल सर्वेंट से पूछता हूँ जो इनके प्रोफेशनल्स हैं, वापडा वाले हैं और स्टेट बैंक वाले हैं. मैं उनसे पूछता हूँ कि आपके पास कितने यूनिवर्सिटीज़ वाले आते हैं, कितने यूनिवर्सिटीज़ वाले आपको कहते हैं कि जी ये हमने फलां पीएचडी थीसिस करवाया, ये एमफिल थीसिस करवाया, इसकी रिसर्च आपकी रेलेवेंट है, हम बच्चा भेज रहे हैं उससे प्रेजेंटेशन लें. बिलीव मी, मेरे पास शायद ही कभी मेरी याददाश्त में नहीं पड़ रहा किसी ने कहा हो कि हाँ ऐसा है कि यूनिवर्सिटीज़ का गवर्नमेंट ऑर्गेनाइजेशन के साथ एक लिंकेज डेवलप है और उसके थ्रू हमें सब पता होता है कि यूनिवर्सिटीज़ में क्या हो रहा है. कुछ नहीं पता, कोई लिंकेज आपका नहीं डेवलप है. आपका रिसर्च पॉलिसी गैप भी है. एक तो मैंने यूनिवर्सिटीज़ का बात की ना, पॉलिसी साइड पे अगर आप बात करें, अगर आप सेक्रेटरी साहब से एक्सपेक्ट कर रहे हैं कि वो मेरा जो है ना 300 पेजेस वाली फैंसी रिपोर्ट बैठ के अपनी फाइलें साइड पे रख के पढ़ेंगे, नहीं पढ़ेंगे. और ये ग्लोबली है, उनके पास टाइम नहीं है कि आपकी फैंसी रिपोर्ट्स पढ़ें. उनके पास आपको देने के लिए सिर्फ 2 मिनट है. 2 मिनट की बात क्या हो सकती है? 1 पेजर. अगर तो 1 पेजर ने उनकी अटेंशन ग्रैब कर ली तो वो 300 पेजेस की बुक भी पढ़ लेंगे. हमारे जो रिसर्च पॉलिसी गैप के इश्यूज हैं, फिर रिसर्चर्स के इश्यूज हैं. आई कम्प्लीटली एग्री विद मुमताज़ साहब, रिसर्च करने में पैसा लगता है. डाटा एनालिसिस तो सेकेंडरी डाटा पे आप कर लेंगे कोई पीबीएस से उतार के, बट एक्चुअल रिसर्च करने के लिए पैसा लगता है. आपका पैसे के बगैर रिसर्च नहीं होती है. अगर आप छोड़ भी दें तो उसमें बड़ी एफर्ट रिक्वायर्ड होती है. डाटा कलेक्शन है, डाटा क्लीनिंग है, बंदे हायर करना है, सब कुछ है. सो इट्स नॉट दैट इजी. तो रिसर्च पॉलिसी गैप जो है वो ग्लोबली जो है वो आपको फिनोमेना ये मिलेगा जहाँ पे पॉलिसी और रिसर्च कम्युनिटी आपको डिफरेंट प्लैनेट्स पे रहते हुए नजर आएंगे और वो दोनों अपने अपने जगह पे कहेंगे कि यार वी आर ऑन द राइट साइड. वो हमसे बात नहीं करते. आप सेक्रेटरी साहब से पूछे, वो कहेंगे आप बात नहीं करते. रिसर्चर से पूछेंगे, वो कहेंगे यार हमने तो काम करके वेबसाइट पे लगा दिया था, सेक्रेटरी साहब ने हमारी वेबसाइट विजिट नहीं की. तो इसके लिए सिर्फ एक तरीका है कि इसमें फ्रीक्वेंट इंटरेक्शन हो. ये ऐसे प्लेटफॉर्म हो जहाँ पे हम सेक्रेटरी साहब को बुलाएं, उनको हम प्रेजेंट करें, कॉन्फ्रेंसेस हो. ठीक है, तो ये एक प्लेटफॉर्म्स हैं ऐसे जो हमें जनरेट करने पड़ेंगे, उस पर बहस मुबाहिसा करना पड़ेगा. अटेंशन ग्रैब करेंगे तो बात आगे चलेगी. लास्ट क्वेश्चन पीछे से वहाँ से एक लड़की करना चाह रही थी.
This is Fatma Iqbal from Connect College. My question is that, AI is progressing very quickly, like GPT. Do you think that this progression will sort of decrease or lessen our efforts towards research, the hard and fast research in universities and PhD? And also, do you think that AI has a negative effect on intellectual property?
I think this is one way or the other. जो रिसर्च है उसकी जो 2 चीज़ें हैं, जैसे चंदन साहब ने पहले कहा है, उसकी रेलेवेंस और रिगर जो है. इफ़ देयर इज़ समथिंग इन इट. और दूसरा ये है कि उसमें अगर ओरिजिनलिटी है तो दैट काइंड ऑफ इश्यूज विल नॉट बी देयर. मीन्स ऑटोमेटिकली इफ़ यू आर डूइंग, और पर्टिकुलरली वंस यू आर डूइंग माइक्रो रिसर्च, then these kind of issues will be no more. One more thing which I would like to add with FAHEEM Saab, that is I think been not covered in question and by us as well, and that is the original thing which is basically not leading to promote the research and academia and the policy in a way, the politicians. आप सब वोट देते हैं, मुख्तलिफ पार्टीज को देते हैं. Look at कौन सी पार्टी है जिसका कोई थिंक टैंक है. इकोनॉमी पे सोच लें आप, जस्ट लुक एट आपकी 3, 4, 5 बड़ी पार्टीज जो भी हैं, क्या उनका कोई इकोनॉमी पे थिंक टैंक है? अगर है सपोज, तो किस लेवल की वो कंसल्टेशन करता है विद द यूनिवर्सिटीज, विद द यू कैन से थिंक टैंक, विद द अदर्स एंड सो ऑन. सो एक बहुत बड़ा जो है वो ये भी ज़रूरत है उसको देखने की कि ओवरऑल जो है बिटवीन एकेडमिक्स, बिटवीन थिंक टैंक एंड बिटवीन द पॉलिसी मेकर देयर इज ए डिस्कनेक्ट.
मोमिना मलिक, मेरा क्वेश्चन ये है कि आप कह रही हैं कि क्वालिटी रिसर्च नहीं है,
इज दिस द रीज़न कि हम स्टूडेंट्स को एक टाइम कंस्ट्रेंट दे देते हैं थीसिस के लिए कि आपके पास इतना टाइम है, हम लास्ट ईयर्स में अपने प्रपोजल सबमिट कराते हैं, देन हमें माइक्रो डेटा पे काम करने की इतनी अवेलेबिलिटी नहीं दी जाती है। मतलब वो ये कहते हैं वर्ल्ड बैंक और ऐसी साइट से डेटा उठाओ, उसको रिग्रेस करो और थीसिस हो गया। सो इज़ दिस द रीज़न कि हमारे पास क्वालिटी रिसर्च नहीं आ रहा है और स्टूडेंट्स का एक इंटरेस्ट डेवलप नहीं हो रहा। देन हमारे पास एथनोग्राफिक रिसर्च का कोई स्कोप नहीं नज़र आता मुझे। लाइक मतलब मैं पढ़ रही हूँ इन फाइनल ईयर, मतलब हमारे पास हम लोगों को पता है कि आपने 1 महीने में डाटा उठाना है, उसको प्रोसेस करना है, थीसिस हो गया। तो हम वो एथनोग्राफिक रिसर्च क्यों नहीं करें? दैट इज़ अ क्वालिटी रिसर्च।
ओके, पॉइंट टेकन। इंटरेस्टिंग क्वेश्चन है बड़ा। नहीं, टाइम आपके पास सफिशिएंट है, दुनिया में इतनी टाइम होता है, चाहे वो जितनी भी रिसर्च डिग्रीज उठाएंगे वो इतने ही टाइम आपको मिलेगा। प्रॉब्लम विद स्टूडेंट्स है, जो कि इसमें आपको किताब मिल जाएगा मेरी, कि आप टॉपिक अपना बहुत ब्रॉड उठाते हैं। फॉर इंस्टेंस आप कहते हैं कि मैंने पाकिस्तान की ट्रांसपोर्ट पॉलिसी को एवेलुएट करना, अब आप लग जाएं उस पर PhD थीसिस जो है ना वो भी आपको मुश्किल पड़ेगी उसमें, क्योंकि ट्रांसपोर्ट पॉलिसी इतना ह्यूज सब्जेक्ट है कि वो आप कवर नहीं कर सकते एक थीसिस के अंदर उसको। तो रिसर्च में एक चीज़ आपको सिखाई जाती है कि आपको नैरो डाउन करना। ट्रांसपोर्ट, अच्छा अब ट्रांसपोर्ट को नैरो डाउन करेंगे, क्या ट्रांसपोर्ट, यानी कि बस, रेल, एयर, व्हाट। ओके, बस में कहाँ, कौन सी बस? मेट्रो बस तो 6 शहरों में, कौन सी मेट्रो बस? लाहौर की मेट्रो बस। ओके, लाहौर की मेट्रो बस, देन व्हाट? मैं ख़वातीन की मोबिलिटी को देख रही हूँ, एंड और कौन सा इंडिकेटर? सो नैरो इट डाउन टू द बॉटम। एक स्पेसिफिक आपका जो रिसर्च क्वेश्चन है वो इतना पंची होना चाहिए, और आपकी पूरी रिसर्च रिवॉल्व करती है उस रिसर्च क्वेश्चन के गिर्द। आपका लिटरेचर रिव्यू क्या होगा, आपका मेथड क्या होगा उस क्वेश्चन को आंसर करने के लिए, आपका डाटा कहाँ से आ रहा है, आपने उसको एनालिसिस कैसे यूज करना है, इट रिवॉल्व्स अराउंड दैट रिसर्च क्वेश्चन स्पेसिफिकली। तो जितना स्पेसिफिक आपका रिसर्च क्वेश्चन होगा उतना स्पेसिफिकली आप चलेंगे, टारगेटेड चलेंगे, कीपिंग इन व्यू द रिसोर्सेज। रिसोर्सेज क्या है? टाइम। मैं ट्रेनिंग में सर जाता हूँ ना दिन वगैरह में, उनके पास ये तो उनको भागने में नहीं देते, मैं उन्हें कहता हूँ यार सेकेंडरी डाटा यूज़ करो, प्राइमरी डाटा पे मत जाना, ठीक है, यूज़ करो और सोच लो कि आपने 3 महीने के अंदर ये रिसर्च कंप्लीट करनी है, गिवन कि आपके पास फैमिली रिस्पॉन्सिबिलिटी भी है, जॉब भी है, दूसरी असाइनमेंट्स भी है। तो रिसोर्स एनालिसिस जो है दैट इज़ वेरी इंपॉर्टेंट। कि जब मैं आपसे बात करता हूँ उसके बाद नाउ वी हैव टू कंक्लूड, और लोग आ रहे हैं, ठीक है, तो इस पर कहते हैं कि आई थैंक यू ऑल माई पैनलिस्ट हियर, लेट्स हैव अ राउंड ऑफ अप्लॉज।